We come back for the final part of Airbud's NBA career. We've watched Airbud get to the NBA, we've watched him play his first 3 seasons in the NBA and fall short every time. Now for the final part, we're here to watch Airbud reach his peak and then decide when it's time to say goodbye to the game of basketball. Will he draw it out, or will he end when it's supposed to? Let's do it. At the end of the last video, a big change just took place, sending Kevin Garnett, a 2-time MVP, out of Minnesota to let the #1 option become Airbud, a dog. The starting 5 was now Airbud, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Big Z, and Ben Wallace. Both the bigs were known for rebounding, and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce were great backup shooters, but Airbud was the #1 offensive option. On every possession, if Airbud could get space, it would be him shooting the ball.
What the dog doing?
That season went well for him. He was averaging nearly 30 points a game as the main option for Minnesota, and he was still putting up 9 assists a game. If he had a Kobe Bryant-like mentality, Airbud could have put up Wilt-type numbers. The world loved what they were seeing. He was practically worshipped worldwide. Airbud #1 option hoops was cinema, and it was effective. They finished the season as the 1 seed with a ridiculous 71-11 record. It was a slight step back from last year when they had Kevin Garnett, but for the first time ever, Minnesota was a united dressing room. From 1 to 15 on the roster, they all got along. The whole world loved Buddy. The style of play he had allowed everyone to flourish. Having a guy that shoots like him in this era, it just led to so much spacing, and the big men were able to focus more on defense than offense. Airbud led the change of a generation. Going into their first season post Kevin Garnett, they were heavy favorites to win the West, and the reigning champions New Jersey Nets looked like they were the favorites to win the East with Kevin Garnett on their team. I decided to just let the sim take control as the comments have been asking for, and the Nets were knocked out in the first round. That was quite a surprise. Over on our side, we beat Utah in 3, Denver in 5, Memphis in 6, and in the final, Airbud had a chance to become an NBA champion. What did he do? Clean sweep. Minnesota were the 2001 NBA champions, and with that, Airbud was the first ever dog in human history to become an NBA champion. He also picked up a finals MVP, and Minnesota fans went crazy. In just 4 years, they went from trash, horrible, bald, bad, putrid, terrible, weak, bald, lame, ball to champions. A complete turnaround in just 4 years' time. And at the face of it was a golden retriever. At the end of that season, Airbud's contract was set to expire, and they absolutely threw the cheddar at him. Whatever number he wanted, they would give to him. His ideal deal was 2 years plus 1 year as a player option. In 1997, he's 3 or 4.
This dog's what, 3, 4 years old?
So in 2001, he's 7 or 8. If he could make it to 10 years old and still be in the NBA, he'd be happy. So for now, he signed a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Timberwolves, with a player option for 1 final year ending in 2004. This deal wasn't as much about the money. Buddy's family back home were really well off, and Buddy wasn't exactly a material dog. He's not like a chihuahua that sits in handbags. He used to be a stray dog. He's kind of just a guy. But Buddy had big plans for his retirement. This money would help change lives, but we'll come back to that. In the 2001-2002 season, it went almost exactly the same as the previous season. There was no roster changes, no drama behind the scenes, no draft picks, just hoops. Again, they got a 71-11 record. Back-to-back seasons of greatness. And in that postseason, yet again, they won their 2nd championship. Buddy was now a 2-time champion and a 2-time finals MVP, all before the age of 10. Minnesota was again going crazy. This time they were destroying buses, and everything was going perfectly for Airbud. As all this was happening, the 2002 draft had come up, and a familiar face was at the front of it. Fernfield, Washington to Spokane, Washington, a short wing with ridiculous talent and a fiery attitude. A man who models his game, hair, and name after Larry Bird. Larry Willingham. It's one thing to get drafted behind a dog, but to have the biggest moment of your life be snatched away by a dog is a whole other experience. From the day he lost a championship game to Airbud, Larry only continued to work harder and harder. He used losing to a dog as the motivation he needed to make it to the top. Every day he remembered the feeling of losing to a dog and vowed it wouldn't happen again. He got to the NBA fueled by hatred towards this dog. He'd built himself up to be the clear #1 prospect in the 2002 draft class, a draft class that also featured names like Amari Stoudemire, Yao Ming, and Jay Williams. The one thing Larry couldn't control was his height, but even at 5'6" in a draft class with 7'6" Yao Ming, Larry was the prospect that stood tall above the others. In the draft lottery, Warriors won the first pick, Rockets had the second pick, and Miami had the third pick. Larry Willingham went to the Warriors, going from the Spokane Warriors to the Golden State Warriors, and they finally got their elite shooter. With the second overall pick, it looked like Yao Ming would join the Rockets. It made the most sense. He was the second best player in this draft, and he had a lot of hype coming out of China. But the Rockets opted to trade their pick to the Bucks. Surely he'd go to the Bucks. But with the second overall pick, they took Jay Williams. When the Timberwolves GM saw Yao Ming fall to third, he made a big swing. He called up Miami, sent over a backup guy and 4 first-round picks, and got back the third overall pick. With that, Yao Ming was a Timberwolf, a polite man who clicked with Buddy instantly. The upcoming season could still be Buddy's final season. He had a player option for next year, but would he take it up? He didn't want Airbud to be associated with going on too long. He was a role model to dogs worldwide. He wanted to retire at the top. While some people are known for dragging out their careers years after they should have stopped, he didn't want to be one of those people. He didn't want to ruin his legacy by running it back unnecessarily for years to come. Not to mention he was already getting old. A golden retriever's physical prime is from 2 to 5 years old. He was already 9. At some point in the next couple of years, it needs to end. We now enter an era some call the Kobe era, 2002 to the 2010s. But real ball knowers know this is still the Airbud era, not Kobe Bryant. Airbud had just won back-to-back titles and he was looking for a third. Kicking off this supposed Kobe era was a game against Kobe himself, and Airbud showed Kobe whose era it was. The next game was against Larry's Golden State. The game started well for Airbud.
Here's Big Dog from deep three-point territory. Oh, what a shot!
He brought the rain from deep. And you know what, guys? It just seemed like they never really had the kind of energy necessary.
He had a few really nice shots in this first quarter, and even with Larry popping up occasionally, it looked like it would be yet another Airbud masterclass.
That is ferocious.
That was until a dog shot from Larry in the second quarter. It took Buddy out of the game. When Buddy left the floor, the score was 12-6. The game would ultimately finish 90-96. Larry scored 30 points, got 5 rebounds, and no assists. Whereas in just 18 minutes, Buddy put up 36 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. But for the first time in his career, he got an injury. Dogs aren't as tough as humans. Fouls hurt more and they last longer. He went to the vet and they did a CAT scan, even though he's a dog. And in this CAT scan, they found out he had something called a CCL injury, caused from sudden pivots, bad landings, and gradual wear and tear. Realistically, a dog playing basketball for any amount of time would end up with this injury. He was getting old now, and something in this challenge had caused it to flare up. This injury wouldn't end his career, but it takes months to fully recover, and it's the kind of thing that sticks around for the rest of your life. This could be the beginning of the end for Airbud. Just before the trade deadline, Buddy was still not back up to full health, and the team was 34-7. They were on track not to reach 70 wins for the first time in 4 years. Airbud was still playing every game, but he wasn't shooting as much as he was years prior, since the landings might aggravate his injury. Luckily, the guys around him made up for it, and the team was still fighting for the 1 seed. The competition for the 1 seed was none other than Larry's Golden State. It felt like Golden State were one move away from being real contenders, and that move was for an unhappy big man, a former MVP, a man who hated Airbud almost as much as Larry. That man's name is Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett joined the Warriors in 2002, and with that, Airbud's 2 biggest enemies united, and they did it on the Warriors, Airbud's rival team. Kevin Garnett was still an MVP level player, and this one move could genuinely push the Warriors to be the favorites over the Timberwolves. It wasn't long until the first game between Kevin Garnett's Warriors and Airbud's Timberwolves, and even with the injury and with 2 people plotting on him, Airbud was still the best player on the field. 50 points whilst injured.
Big Dog.
As the season went on, Airbud's injury never went away, but he learned to play with it more. But he led the team to win 71 games, only losing 4 of their final 41 games. This meant 3 years in a row, they had won 71 games. He even, for the first time in his career, picked up a regular season MVP. In a season where he had a career-threatening injury, he still picked up MVP. No surprise Rookie of the Year was Larry Willingham after a ridiculous rookie year, and Defensive Player of the Year went to Kevin Garnett. The 2 clear best teams in the league were both coming out of the West, and as the playoffs started, they both had dominant runs before meeting in the conference final. Only one team can make it to the final. Man for man, there wasn't much between these 2 teams, but who would go through? An unexpectedly dominant series. Minnesota won this game to make it a sweep. Airbud looked like he was only just peaking. And in the final, we had Arthur Chaney's former team, and we won in 5. Some of the performances in this series from Airbud were next level, including 64 points in a closeout game to take his finals average to 40 points a game. Yes, he won his 3rd title. Yes, he won his 3rd straight finals MVP. Yes, he's still him. But would he do it for one final season to fight for a never done before 4P? Does he have one final season in him? Yes, Airbud returns for one final run. The 2002-2003 season would be the end of Airbud's career. How fitting the year 2003 would be when Airbud's time would end. For this final season, the focus wasn't on winning every regular season game. It was on seeing just what this dog could do. What would happen if Airbud shot on every possession? Would he still never miss? It's time for Airbud to release his inner Kobe Bryant, even though it's... I cut that one. The season started rocky. One scorer makes it easy to figure the opponent out, but it didn't stop some great performances from Airbud. 89 points against the Warriors. There were some other great games too, but this 89 points against the Warriors was historic. Wilt, Airbud, Airbud, Wilt, Airbud. The 2 greatest scorers of their generation. As the season went on, Minnesota got better, but it was clear they were still worse off for playing solo ball. They still secured the 1 seed, and of course, Airbud won his 2nd MVP, averaging 57.9 points a game. This dog put up nearly 60 points a game at the highest level. A guy named LeBron James won Rookie of the Year for the Sacramento Kings, and to look at Airbud's rise to greatness genuinely baffles me. From 6 points a game to nearly 60 points a game. Airbud is the greatest dog to ever play basketball, and you could argue he's the greatest anything to play basketball. In Airbud's final postseason, the first 2 rounds were easy, and in the conference final we had pre-KC. And of course, yet again, Kevin Garnett is here. Who could have seen this type of hate coming?
Stay out of my way.
This kid went on to be Kevin Garnett. We won in 5. Hold that, KG. Get out of my face. And in the final, we had Chicago Bulls. They actually had the 2nd overall pick via a trade last year, and they took Carmelo Anthony. Did they also draft Troy Bolton in the 2nd round? Am I right? This series was not a hard one though. Prime Airbud might actually be unstoppable. Someone who has literally never missed, taking 30 shots a game is a recipe for success. In this game against Air Jordan's former home, he showed the world what Airbud is all about. Even at 2'4", he can dunk on the biggest in the game. Dominant series by a dominant dog, capped off with 82 points in a closeout game of the NBA Finals. And that is curtains on the Airbud sim. What a run. Airbud is the best player I have ever seen. He retires with a legacy of 4 rings, 4 finals MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, and he never missed a single shot in his life. But just because his career is over doesn't mean the story is. Some former pros fade into the background, never to be seen or heard from again. But not Buddy. Buddy was active in his community. He was a pundit, offering very useful and insightful advice whenever questioned. He was also known for popping up at all sorts of different sports. And even now, in 2026, 23 years after his retirement, Buddy is still active in Fernfield. He runs his own training camp where dogs of all breeds can take on pros at any sport. Just last week, LeBron James was actually there and he took on one of the dogs. He got absolutely destroyed. Go back to the Kings. Buddy's training camp actually helps the youth in not just basketball, but American football, actual football, baseball, volleyball. He even teaches self-defense. There's nothing this dog can't do. They should make an incredibly long and drawn out movie series about him, followed by a YouTube miniseries where a 21-year-old man loses his mind. Again, curtains on the Airbud sim. I have extra notes here about the fact that like the Lakers nearly drafted Scooby-Doo in 1977. We're just gonna move past that. I had graphics planned for it. I'm not making them. I want to get back to doing basketball sims of humans, preferably. I had a friend tell me I should put Harambe in 2K, and I'm just not. I'm not putting Harambe in 2K. I'm 21 years old. I went to university. Man. I'm not sitting there and tracking Harambe over 2K footage. Man, I am losing my mind. Anyway, I really can't say thank you enough for watching this little mini series. Someone did leave a comment saying we could like span out to Madden and FIFA and all the different games because of that's kind of what the Airbud movies did. I just never got why they did that. They saw this dog was cracked and they said, hey, let's just keep changing the sport. I want to know what you guys think. Who had a better career, Airbud or Troy Bolton? Anyway, thank you guys for watching this mini series. I really do appreciate the support on these, but don't be surprised if you start seeing more things to do with like movies or film. That's a big passion of mine. Anyway, guys, really appreciate you all being here. Yeah. Who's excited for Airbud returns? Am I right?